Hello RedCaseStory listeners, welcome back to our channel that discusses true crime stories that really happened around the world. We hope that you are all in good health and kept away from danger. Today's story takes us to Hong Kong in the early 1980s. A city of neon lights, crowded markets, and sleepless streets, but also a place where, hidden in plain sight, one man lived a double life so sinister that even the police could hardly believe it when they finally uncovered the truth. This is the story of Lam Kor Wan, the taxi driver who became known as the Jars murderer. A man who preyed on women in the quietest hours of the night and kept pieces of them sealed away in containers. Lam Kor Wan was not born into poverty or isolation. He came into the world on the 22nd of May, 1955 in British Hong Kong. Given the name Lam Kwok Yu, his early years were relatively stable. Between 1957 and 1962, his father worked for a petroleum company in Brunei, and young Lam, along with his sister, lived with their mother in the company's dormitory. But there was a complication. Lam's father also kept a concubine and had other children, creating a tense family atmosphere. By December 1962, the family moved back to Hong Kong, settling in Kwun Tong. Lam attended a government elementary school and often ranked in the top 10 of his class. It seemed he had a bright future ahead, but in 1970, things changed. His father opened a motorcycle shop and insisted Lam work there after school every day. His grades began to slip, and arguments with his father became a daily occurrence. After finishing secondary school, Lam worked full-time in his father's shop, then later as an air conditioning apprentice for a relative. But his relationship with his father worsened. In early 1973, after another argument, Lam was expelled from the family home. That same year, he was arrested for a disturbing incident, threatening a woman with a knife and groping her near a public toilet in Hung Hom. He was sent to Castle Peak Hospital for 102 days of psychiatric treatment. Upon release, he even temporarily changed his name to Lam Yao Kyung. By 19, his family had noticed more troubling signs, abnormal behavior, and an unhealthy fixation on women's bodies. One incident left them shocked. Lam was caught peeping at his own sister in the bathroom. In 1978, Lam obtained a taxi license and changed his name again, this time to Lam Kor Wan. By 1980, he was driving the night shift. His family thought this might be a stable path for him. But driving at night gave him something else: access to women traveling alone, far from the crowded streets. In 1981, Lam developed a new interest: photography. He bought cameras, joined a photography club, and learned to take professional quality pictures. This skill would later become part of his crimes in ways no one could have predicted. Lam's mother began to notice something unsettling. He refused to change clothes or shower, and seemed depressed and withdrawn. But during his night shifts, he was forming a deadly pattern. He would pick up lone female passengers, strangle them with electrical wire, take their bodies to his family home in Kwun Tong, and dismember them. In the cramped bedroom he shared with his brother, who worked during the day and had no idea what was happening, Lam turned the room into his private crime scene. He kept body parts in plastic containers, preserved in rice wine. When police eventually revealed this, the English-language press gave him a chilling nickname: the Jars murderer. On the night of the 3rd of February, 1982, 22-year-old nightclub dancer Chan Fenglan left the Chinese Palace nightclub in Tsim Sha Tsui around 4 a.m. She'd been drinking with friends and decided to take a taxi home. The driver was Lam. Instead of taking her home, he drove to his own neighborhood in Kwun Tong. Leaving her in the cab, he went upstairs to get an electrical cord. Moments later, in the back seat, he strangled her to death. He hid her body under the living room sofa until morning. The next day, he bought an electric saw. Once the house was empty, he stripped her body, photographed it, and filmed himself dismembering it. titling the video Serious Secrets. Organs were preserved in rice wine. The rest of her body was wrapped and later dumped. Heavy rain washed the remains into the Mun River, where they were discovered in 7 pieces. Just before dawn on the 29th of May, 1982, 31-year-old cashier Chan Wankit left work and hailed a taxi on Wusung Street. She was handcuffed and strangled in the cab. This time, Lam used a surgical scalpel, removing both and the pubic area for preservation. The rest was wrapped in newspaper, placed in a rice sack, and dumped on the slopes of Tai Hang Road. Again, he filmed the dismemberment, adding to his private collection of tapes. On the 17th of June, 1982, 29-year-old street cleaner Lung Saw Wan finished her shift and took a taxi home. She never made it. Lam strangled her, took her home, and began filming again, this time naming the tape Operation Rainy Night. He set up his camera on the bed so he could work without interruption, making the process disturbingly methodical. In one moment of horrifying curiosity, Lam opened her abdomen and tasted human flesh, but spat it out, saying it made him sick. On the 2nd of July, 1982, 17-year-old Lung Wai-sum attended a thank you party at the Sheraton Hotel. She boarded a taxi at 11 p.m. to return home, but Lam drove her elsewhere. They talked about school, her future, even religion, before he and strangled her. This time, he committed an act of necrophilia before dismembering her. Her disappearance triggered a large search, but Lam kept her remains hidden, preserved in jars, until police closed in. By mid-1982, Hong Kong police had connected the murders, but they had no suspect. Lam, meanwhile, continued driving his taxi, calm and quiet, but then came the mistake that would end his killing spree. On the 17th of August, 1982, Lam walked into a Kodak photo shop in Mong Kok. He handed over a roll of film to be developed. When the technician processed the negatives, he froze. The images were not scenic shots, nor portraits, they were photographs of a dismembered human body. The shop manager contacted police immediately. Plainclothes officers were waiting when Lam returned to pick up the prints. When confronted, Lam appeared calm. He claimed the photos belonged to a friend who worked on a ship and that the friend would be meeting him soon. The supposed friend never arrived. Officers decided to escort Lam back to his parents' apartment on Kwai Chow Street. Inside the small, cluttered bedroom he shared with his brother, police found an old ammunition box. When they opened it, the contents left even veteran detectives stunned: pornographic images, photographs of body parts, several videotapes, and Tupperware containers holding preserved sexual organs. It was the breakthrough they needed, not only proof of the murders, but a visual record of Lam's methods. In the tapes, he could be seen photographing, filming, and dismembering his victims with disturbing precision. The jars confirmed the nickname the press would give him, the Jars Murderer. Forensic experts identified the victims using a new method developed by 2 lecturers from the Prince Philip Dental Hospital at the University of Hong Kong. They used photo superimposition, overlaying ante-mortem photos of missing women with X-rays of the recovered skulls, a breakthrough technique at the time. On the 8th of April, 1983, Lam's trial began. It lasted 3 weeks and involved a 7-man jury. The prosecution detailed how Lam picked up lone women late at night, strangled them with electrical cords, and took them to his home for post-mortem mutilation. Lam's own words to psychiatrist Dr. William Green were presented. He admitted eating part of one victim's intestine, and claimed he acted because God told him to kill. The defense could not sway the jury. Lam was found guilty of 4 counts of murder and sentenced to death by hanging. For over a year, Lam lived under the shadow of the death penalty. But on the 29th of August, 1984, Governor Sir Edward Yu commuted his sentence to life imprisonment, as was tradition before the death penalty was abolished in 1993. He was first sent to Stanley Prison, then transferred to the maximum security Shek Pik Prison, where he remains to this day. After the trial, all of Lam's photographs and tapes were destroyed. Authorities feared they could inspire copycat crimes or be sold on the black market. The case left Hong Kong shaken. Many questioned how Lam could have lived under the same roof as his family, committing such acts without them ever suspecting. His story was later adapted into the 1992 film Drive Lam, starring Simon Yam, and inspired other fictionalized portrayals in Hong Kong cinema. But for the families of the victims, the case remains a scar. No film could capture the real loss, the real fear, or the unanswered question of how a seemingly quiet taxi driver became one of the city's most infamous killers. Lam Kor Wan's crimes stand as a grim reminder that evil can exist behind the most ordinary of faces. He was not a shadowy figure lurking in alleyways. He was the man behind the wheel, the driver you might flag down after a long night, the neighbor whose life seemed unremarkable, and perhaps that is what makes his story so terrifying. This was the case of the Jars murderer, a man who turned the streets of Hong Kong into his hunting ground, and whose name remains etched into the city's criminal history. Thank you for joining us on this journey into one of Hong Kong's darkest cases. Stay safe, stay aware, and we'll see you in the next episode.